responsible for. All right, no worries, Christina. So let's have a quick overview of HIFU first. Let's just go drill down into the science behind it all. And before I start, I did go to Korea, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago? Time flies. And I can tell you, and I went there to see what new devices there were, what knowledge can I bring back with me. I'm always looking for something different and new and just, I suppose, exciting because, you think, oh, what am I missing out on? And guess what? We're not. Australia's actually well placed in terms of what we deliver with technology. So whether it be in HIFU, like every second, if not every person who was selling technology, HIFU was there, 100%. Um, Radio frequency needling was also there. So even though it's an older modality, it's still definitely, going strong. It's your HIFU, RF needling, sorry. Plasma fibroblasting, there was still quite a few new devices around, so that's still not as inundated as HIFU was, but it was still there. Your IPL, your lasers, exosomes was huge. Like exosomes were sort of, all over the place. And something called pDRNA. So that seemed to be like, flooding the Korean markets. And what happens is when Korea or overseas gets something, Australia sort of follows suit. So pDRNA is another big thing. It comes from salmon, salmon DNA. I don't know if you really want to know where exactly, but yeah, I'm like, all right, I'll tell you. Um, Salmon sperm had a so apparently it's a really big thing, and I don't know if I'm game to try it just yet, but who knows? I'm sure it'll come around like the snail, facial and what have you. Who knows? So they're sort of like two products, exosomes and pDRNA were a big thing. Cilantro was another big thing, an ingredient I found in a lot of their skincare as well. But in terms of devices, the only new thing, and it didn't excite me, I'm really sorry, Korea, was shock. It was a shock treatment, and basically, I can't remember even the full name. That's how disinterested I became. But basically, it is an incredibly high-powered vibrational tool that essentially just increased the circulation of the skin. And we know when there's circulation, the skin functions better. And we can do circulation types of treatments, where we're increasing circulation rather, with lots of different devices. So really, I just to reassure you all, um, we're on the right track with technology and the advancements and what's, sort of out there. So that was really reassuring. A bit disappointing because I wanted to come back with a new gadget, but reassuring that, we're delivering to our consumer what is still considered the latest and the greatest. So I think that is actually, like I said, reassuring. Anyway, moving on. So for those of you who don't know me, let me just share my screen. For those of you who've seen this every month, I'm really sorry. It's a bit repetitive, but why not? Slideshow, here we go. All right. So today, like you all are aware, it's all about HIFU, so the science and the synergy of HIFU. This is the team. There's been a few changes of late, so I need to update that photo, but most of the ladies are still around. And to me, it's all about raising that standard of not just the skin education side of things, but also technology devices. And as you can, some of you may have seen, skincare as well. And bridging the gap between whether you're a beauty therapist or a dermal therapist or a nurse or a doctor, there's lots of little gaps in between. We're trying to bring that together, and hopefully we're doing a good job at that. And of course, lots of our, not lots, but our core values rather, are all about, delivering a quality, whether it's device or training or skincare. Hopefully there's lots of trust there. And we do it with passion and lots of kindness. And as most of you know, I think there's not enough kindness in the world. So that's my stance. Some of our brands and partners that we either will train for or sell are the Wiro Eve, the Apollo Duet, which is another Wiro device, radio frequency. We've got Apollo Med, so that's HIFU. We've got the Plaque Spot, the Purisma. We've got our LEDs, the One Need Kneeling device. We've got our own skincare that we formulate in Melbourne. And some of you may have seen me go a little bit nuts about Larry Medical. So I'll quickly speak about that towards the end if you're interested. But as Gree from Hood said, it sounds like, I don't know if I should be naming names, but it sounds like biorepeal on steroids. And I'm like, yes, like it's the bomb. We've been getting really good results during our trials with it. Moving on, I won't read all of this, but by way of trade, I'm an actual educator. I have a degree in education back in RMIT back in the day, and I did beauty therapy along the way as a mature age person. So been in the industry for 22 years. Love skin, love devices, love the science behind the devices, and proud to say that we've won a number of awards for education too. Anyway, so HIFU, high intensity focused ultrasound. So today that's what I was teaching, HIFU actually, and someone said, what does HIFU stand for? And because of some of the reputation it's earned because of the pain, and we'll come to that and how to eliminate pain in a second. Someone said, oh, I thought it was high intensity FU. I'm like, it's a dirty word, but it's not that dirty, relax. Focused ultrasound. So basically what happens is we have ultrasound going through an applicator, and it comes to a focal point and it heats up the skin. I'll explain about that a little bit more in detail in a moment, but it is focused ultrasound. It is safe. We know ultrasound's been used in, when we're pregnant or in healing. And in fact, HIFU was actually first used in the early stages of cancer treatment, prostate cancer treatment. And so it comes from the medical arena, as does a lot of devices, and now into aesthetics. So with HIFU, the amazing thing and why I love it so much is that there's no downtime. It's obviously non-surgical, it's non-invasive. So when I say no downtime, you may get a little bit of puffiness, a little bit of minor swelling, but it's not anything that you couldn't go to the work, you'll go to work or go out the next day. Sometimes when a client is on blood thinners, you may get a little bit of bruising, and really it sort of will happen to the lower half of the face, but that's not typical. 2 weeks later, clients might feel a little bit tender, but really that's about it. So it's nothing serious or major. And again, what I really love about HIFU, and a lot of you know that I'm an IPL baby, I love my IPLs and lasers. The thing is, HIFU reaches areas of the skin that most other devices can't reach. And so this is what sets HIFU apart, and I think this is why it's done so well. And I'm not at home, I'm in a hotel at the moment. I don't have my little skin diagram. I miss it, but normally I have my skin diagram, and you'd be able to see the muscle layer down the bottom, the adipose tissue, the dermis. So every other device doesn't bypass the dermis. You go through the dermis. We're creating bulk heating of the dermis perhaps. Whereas what HIFU does is actually bypasses all the layers. So there's no epidermal damage, there's no destruction to the top layers, so there's no downtime. It bypasses, and it can actually reach the SMAS, which is the superficial muscular aponeurotic system. Basically, when we age, that SMAS here starts to sag, and we try to lift it. And HIFU is exceptional at doing that if you're doing it right, which we'll come to in a minute. So it reaches all areas that lasers can't, and you can pretty much treat, I'd say, most Fitzpatricks. Darker skin types will need prepping, of course, as usual. Ultrasound induces vibrations in the molecules in our skin, and as we know, when we have friction, we have heat. And so we have this heat in our skin with HIFU. It reaches between 60 and 70 degrees. So it is quite a high temperature. And basically with this heat, because there is a focal point, similar to a magnifying glass and the light going through the magnifying glass, and it comes to a point and it creates what we call microthermal zones, MTZ. So it causes coagulation of the basically the collagen proteins there, and it creates a microtrauma. And then we have that inflammatory response, right? So from the inflammatory response, we then trigger the 3 stages of wound healing. So the inflammation lasting 3 days, proliferation, and then of course our maturation. And through that inflammatory response, we then have the release of fibroblasts, and therefore we end up getting collagen and elastin. So that's just part of that natural wound healing phase. So that's the first component. The second thing that HIFU does is it causes that tightening and lifting, right? Not just to the skin, but of the tissue of the SMAS, right? So the SMAS, the dermis or the epidermal dermal junction. And so it does cause tightening and it does cause lifting and also contouring. When we're talking about the face, that's what that does. When we're talking about the body, it will actually help also with pockets of fat. It can help with cellulite as well, and also skin laxity on the body. So it's not just for the face of the neck, it's for different parts of the body as well. And it does it quite effectively too with fat, so successfully. So like I said, with HIFU, we can target really specific depths of different parts of our skin, right? So if I'm using my 4.5 mil cartridge, I can bypass the adipose layer and reach down to the SMAS, that muscular layer, to target that muscle here that sags and gives us jowls and nasolabials and bring that further up. We can use our 2 or 3 mil cartridge, depending on which HIFU you have, which actually treats just above the adipose. So there is there's question, I suppose, out there. Do we use my 3 mil cartridge if there's a lot of dermal degradation? And the answer would be no, because then you'll be actually going into the adipose and destroying fat. In some instances, it might be wanted, such as the submental area, or if someone's got quite heavy, if there's a bit of the fat pads have moved further down where the jowls are. But it's not a good idea to be treating someone on the face if they don't have thick, a nice dermal density, because you'll end up getting fat destruction. So we don't even treat with a 3 if we're ever unsure. We will treat with our 4.5, which bypasses the adipose, the subcutaneous, and then we treat with our 1.5. So the 3 will hit our dermis, and our 1.5 just treats below that papillary layer, that superficial dermis right there. So we're targeting, again, very specifically different depths of the skin. The epidermis, like I said, is spared. So you can see we've got this focal point up the top. We're not having any trauma. There's no trauma to the epidermis at all. So there's minimal downtime. Like I said, we can address different, structures. And the other thing which is so amazing about this, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on, is it can be easily combined with other treatments. Because we're not creating bulk heating of the tissue, and because we're sparing the epidermis, you can easily, combine this with a number of different devices that you have to make sure that you're using your HIFU even more so than just every now and then. So I'll talk about combine. This is what excites me the most, is combining, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But essentially, if you had a bit of perspex and you put your HIFU applicator down onto the perspex with some conductive gel. It's a really good way of demonstrating to clients what happens. The top layer of the skin is unaffected, while the underside is the plastic actually melts. The perspex melts. What happens to our skin is the SMAS, or the dermis, the collagen is coagulated. Not to this extent. This is like using 2 joules. It's super, super high. I would never use that on a human. I always start at 0.5 and work my way up. And the most I'd probably ever do is, probably between 1.2 and 1.5, depending on tolerance. But I think getting a piece of perspex to demonstrate to our clients so they have a visual is always a great idea. That way they can understand what's happening. So we know, like I said, it's beams of intersecting ultrasound energy coming to a focal point, and that's where all the magic is happening. All the focused heat is happening there, whereas the heat up the top is not really felt. It is 60 to 70 degrees of energy. The clients will feel something. So if you're thinking, oh, I haven't had results, and your clients haven't felt anything, it could be that your energy is too low, or it could be your spacing, your pitch is too wide. So we'll come to your pitch, and I'll say with my pitch, it should be around the 1.5 to 2 mil in terms of how far the dots are. If the dots are further apart than that, 2.5 or 3 mil, it's just too far. So my dots, I want them close enough, but not too close that there's not enough healthy tissue around each dot. So the pitch is how close the dots are from one dot to another and one dot to another, if that makes sense. All right, so this is our pitch from left to right, and then from one line to another line. So you're looking at 1.5 is a fairly reasonably intense treatment. Maybe someone who is a bit more older, or their wound healing maybe not as fantastic, you might want to go a little bit further apart. But remember, we want to sort of push those boundaries and really get results. So I'd be aiming for 1.5 going across. If you don't have a multi-line HIFU, then what you should be doing is moving your applicator 1.5 mil, so the tiniest amount, every time you're moving your applicator, only 1.5 mil. This could be another reason why some of you aren't getting results. If you're moving your applicator 1 centimeter at a time, and you're basically doing 5 to 10 rows in one area, you're probably under treating. So you need to be moving your applicator 1.5 mils at a time. I would say 50 lines per column. That's a row, that's a column. So 50 per column. So roughly per cheek, you're looking at 100 lines. If you're not doing 100 lines per cheek, you're not doing enough. Okay. All right, so there is going to be a little bit of heat there. I'm wanting my clients to feel roughly about a 7 out of 10. It shouldn't be excruciating. It should be just tolerable, and I'll go through how to manage pain in a moment, because there are ways to reduce the pain without reducing the efficacy. Okay. I'll just open my chat. Trish, I'll come back to you in a second. One sec. All right, so the cartridges delivers and deposits focused ultrasound, energy depth beneath the dermis. We already said that, at optimal temperature for collagen regeneration. Okay, and the epidermis is preserved. So Trish was saying that she'd love to show her HIFU, I like how you said that, HIFU eyelids starting to lift, but it won't work for me. Oh, the camera. Especially since the girls needled the crap out of yesterday. Ladies, I totally love my flat tummy after HIFU. I was smashing the tighter tops, wearing clothes tucked in. Oh, I'm gonna have to maybe try a different, maybe try your phone, Trish. Anyway, um, love that. All right. So let's look at the different cartridge depths and why and when you'd be using that. And we always start at the deepest. So we don't start at the most superficial. We always start at the deepest, which is our 4.5, mind you. But anyway, so our 1.5 cartridge is the most superficial of the cartridges, and that is focused more on that, epidermal dermal junction, right? So it's basically where you're going to be needling. So most people will needle anywhere from 0.5 to say 1.5 or 1.7, depending how daring you are. But this is where we're trying to reach sort of that deeper needle depth if you're going to be needling. So with that, it's similar to our needling. It's not the same as needling. It's the same depth as needling. With needling, you're getting the release of platelets and growth factors and no coagulation. All right, so just keep that in mind. With HIFU, we're going that deep, but we're getting a different end point or different, what's the word I'm looking for, outcome. So with that, we're getting that thermal trauma, we're getting collagen contraction, we're getting fibroblasts, but a little bit different to needling. And we'll talk about combining needling with HIFU in a moment. But 1.5 is superficial. The next depth is your 3 mil, which is going to be more so where I suppose the dermal layer is, and you've got more collagen and elastin obviously being stimulated there. If you've got a 2 mil, again, that's going to be targeting the dermis. The 4.5 mil, like I mentioned earlier, is targeting the SMAS. And that's going to give you, instead of a reduction in fine lines and wrinkles, that's where you're going to get the lifting, that lifting and the tightening, and also contouring of that bottom half of the face. So 1.5 is more so for a glow up, fine lines, wrinkles, and this is where we have, or we use the 1.5 for our HIFU glow. Our 3 mil is for remodeling and for deeper wrinkles, if you will, and your 4.5 is for lifting. So each one has a slightly different function than another. And of course, if you've got deeper cartridges, some of you might have a 6, 6.5, some of you will have an 8, a 9, 11, a 13, a 16. There are so many different depths. They're for body. You are not to use those on the face. The face, the actual HIFU will go all the way through, and it's quite damaging. So these are just the ones that are used for the face. Can you use the face for the body? Yes, the other way around, but you can't use the body ones on the face, obviously. So with our deeper cartridges, it depends what you're trying to achieve. Is it fat reduction? Is it skin tightening? Is it for cellulite reduction? So that's a whole another kettle of fish, but that is going to be for targeting the body. All right. So essentially, like I said, and I'm repeating myself, your 4.5 is targeting that SMAS. And so that's that layer that, is basically that section under there, underneath the adipose tissue. The platysma does continue down the neck here. If you're wanting to give your client a little bit of a lift and contour of that face and a bit more of a nicer, tighter look to the face, you can do your 4.5 down that muscle here to tighten that muscle. You could also use the 4.5 in the submental area if there is a little bit of fat happening underneath here. But apart from that, you are not going to be using the 4.5 everywhere else. It is just the SMAS, submental for fat, and for tightening that platysma down the side of the neck here. All right. So Hopefully that makes sense. If you want more information on, reducing fat in the submental, just let me know in the chat and we can discuss that too. But as we know, HIFU creates these microthermal zones in the dermal layers. Initially, clients were going to see a bit of a contraction for the first 2 to 3 days. That's just an immediate contraction that we see. However, the real results do happen post 3 months. It definitely needs 3 months. You don't see it any sooner than that. This line here is interesting. So we know denaturation rather, of the collagen begins at 58 degrees. So if our settings are low, you're going to get some type of denaturation, which is fine. The main transition occurs at 65. So at 65 degrees, you get 11% of denaturation of the collagen bundles. However, as you move higher in your temperature or higher in your joules, you're going to get more denaturation happening at the higher temperatures. So if you're doing a treatment and your client's not feeling much, you're probably going to be treating at that lower end and you're not going to be getting much coagulation and denaturation of those collagen fibers. We're not saying we want to hit 80 degrees, that's insanely high, but we definitely want to be reaching, like I said, about a 7 out of 10 for my clients to see a positive change. All right, so there's a big, difference here between 65 degrees and 80 degrees. We're going from 11% damage to 59% damage. Okay. Clients need to be patient, like I said. You're going to see some change within the first 6 weeks. However, we know maturation, so collagen type 1 replaces type 3, and it takes several months for that to happen, at least 90 days. So your clients need to wait, I'd say at least 3 months before they start seeing a change. I know when I did my face, initially the initial 3 treatments I had with different people, I was like, HIFU doesn't work, and I was dead set against it. I don't know if any of you had been following me about 5 years ago. I was like, nah, HIFU doesn't work. I don't believe in it. And guess what? I didn't feel the treatment. It wasn't painful, didn't feel anything. They said I didn't have to feel much, but I think they weren't treating me at high enough. So what did Nancy do? Nancy got herself a machine and did half her face, and with that, and I could feel it. I would probably say it was maybe a 7 to an 8 out of 10. And the first few months I was like, oh, this HIFU is rubbish, it doesn't work. And surely enough, probably within that 4th month, I would say the 3rd, 4th month, I really started seeing a change. And it's a year and a month on, and I've still only just had half the face done, and you can see it. You can definitely notice a difference. My nasolabial on this side is much more pronounced than this side. My eyebrow, when I look in photos, is more higher on this side than this side. And my contour, although I've had plasma 2 weeks ago, so it's probably not as bad, but the jowls on this side was worse than on this side. I think it's a bit more evened up. So I did do plasma a couple of weeks ago. But it did take a few months. So patience is definitely needed. All right, Christy says she feels the same. I don't know what you're feeling the same about. I've probably talked too much. All right. So just to give you a bit of a recap on what HIFU actually is good for, not getting the results. So let's work out, nut out why you're not getting the results at the end. I'll get you to come on live, yeah? Okay. So we're non-surgical facelifting, it's skin tightening, it's going to help with improving skin elasticity. It is definitely for skin rejuvenation and regeneration. It helps with the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. It's going to help with the skin texture. And for some strange reason, and I haven't figured out why, it improves pigmentation. Go figure. I don't know what we're doing, but it just seems to improve pigmentation. It's great if you're wanting to do an eyebrow or an eye lift. It's going to help with lifting the nasolabials, contouring the jowls, helps with the marionette lines, submental contouring, fat reduction on the body, and like I said, we can combine it with other modalities as well. All right. Is there any questions so far? Hopefully this is just a bit of a refresher for those of you who already have done, HIFU training. Okay. One of the biggest obstacles and what is stopping people from getting either the results because they're turning down the settings, or clients aren't coming back and rebooking, is pain. And so I've recognized that pain really is one of the biggest barriers. So HIFU is known for its effectiveness in the non-invasive skin tightening and lifting. So we know it's effective at optimal temperatures, of course, the settings. However, the pain is a common concern amongst clients, often varying in intensity based on the treatment area and also the tolerance and the thresholds of your clients. The common areas where clients might experience the most pain or discomfort during HIFU include the jawline, the cheekbones, and the forehead. Does anyone know why? In particular, the jawline, cheekbones, and the forehead. Anyone know why those three particular places are quite painful? Not as much as fat pads. Yes, bony areas, and because of the bones. So what happens is the sound, so the HIFU, the sound, the ultrasound hits the actual bone. So like I said, cheek, jawline, and the forehead, and it reverberates, it bounces back off. And so they're almost getting like a bit of a double whammy. And so they're actually feeling that the ultrasound reverberate off their bone. So what can we do? And we've got here less fat to the area. I find where the fat is under the chin, again, right next to the bone. So what do you think we can do to reduce the pain? All right. And clients oftentimes will actually say it's a bit of a pinprick, or they're feeling it like they're getting dental work done, or they're feeling heat. What you could do for the bottom half of the face is, first of all, when you're gritting, and hopefully everyone is gritting, you basically are trying to work out where the fat is, not the fat, rather the muscle is, and where the bone is. So if we're gritting and you feel bone, you are not to treat right on the bone, because that's not where the muscle is. The muscle is further up here. So really you should be lifting up that muscle and going, yep, I'm going to draw my line here, and feeling, right, palpitating the actual tissue and going, yep, that's bone, this is muscle, that's muscle. So that's where we're going to start, that's where we're going to finish. So the first of all, the very basic is you're not to be treating the 4.5 in particular right on the bone. What's the point? We're trying to get that muscle, right? So we want to make sure that we're first treating correctly. Second of all, if that SMAS has started to droop down, and you can see it's down here right on the bone, as you've got your applicator here, what you do is you push up the SMAS up into the applicator off the bone, and that reduces your pain by at least 50%. Right, so here we're pushing the skin, not the skin, but the muscle off the bone, and we're bringing it off the bone, and we're treating. So that helps a lot. When we're treating here, and they're saying, oh, I can feel that in my teeth, or, they're sort of really a bit sensitive here, you just get them to blow up their cheeks. Right, that in itself is going to help with the pain there. Moving up here, what I do is I wipe off the gel, I'll get a bit of gauze, and what I do is push up the SMAS off again my cheekbone. So it's just slightly off, and I'm able to treat. And that reduces the pain and it makes it so much more tolerable without me having to reduce and compromise my settings. Yeah. The forehead, there's not much you can do on the forehead. There's not enough tissue to be grabbing on the forehead. I mean, you can try, but there's just not a great deal. So if you've got a single shot cartridge, that's where this is going to help. If you've got a multi-line or a single line, there's not a great deal you can do. There is one thing, but I don't like it. I will share it with you, and that is moving your applicator, so your multi-line or your single line applicator up and down and across that area. However, it leads to really inconsistent treatments, and you still need to be laying down the same number of lines. So typically in this area, you're either going to have I would say 10, 20, 30, 40, probably doing about 40 lines in this section here. So you still need to lay down 40 lines, whether you're moving the applicator or whether it's stationary. The clients will feel the pain on the top of their head or the back of their head. There's not a lot you can do. Really, it's, you might be able to turn down the setting a little bit, but just really giving them some type of a vibrational tool or telling them to wriggle their toes is as a distraction is the only thing you can do. But definitely on the cheek area, squeezing the muscle and pushing it into the applicator helps immensely. So you want to address that, it can be slightly painful, but you want to go through that with them, talk through, with them that we're going to help them manage the pain. We're going to talk through it, that we don't want them to feel anything more than a 7. And if it's more than a 7, to let us know and we'll reduce our settings. You do want to make sure that you're aware and you're acknowledging the clients that they are in, that they're uncomfortable. And I find counting down the rows really, really helps them. So I'll just say you've got 3 more rows left, 2, 1, and then they can kind of breathe again. The other thing that helps is what we call box breathing or the Navy breathing, where they're breathing out for 7, holding for 7, breathing in for 7, holding for 7. So I'll just repeat that. So we breathe out for 7 seconds, hold it for 7, in for 7 seconds, hold it for 7. And what that does is it just targets the amygdala in the brain, and it reduces their adrenaline, and it helps them manage the pain in that way as well. So that's called box breathing, and then it just helps their anxiety and it helps manage their pain in a different way. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways, but definitely acknowledge and let them know that, yes, I understand you're in pain, and talk them through it. I've already done this slide. Anyway, I've got ahead of myself. During the consultation, it's really important that you let them know that there's going to be a little bit of discomfort, and you just want to manage their expectations and fears regarding the pain. If they've heard, from their family or friends or advertising, oh, it's really painful, just let them know we're going to, help them, talk them through that. There's those different techniques that I just went through with helping with the discomfort and the pain. You want to eventually, over time, once they start feeling comfortable and not as anxious, increase the intensity. If it's not today's treatment, it might be the next treatment. Tailoring the treatment approach to the client's pain tolerance using the single shot cartridges, if you've got that available to you. Or the other thing you can do is, instead of doing all 3 cartridges on the one day, is you might do the 4.5 today, and then in 2 weeks' time, I might do my 3 or my 2 mil cartridge. I can see you're nodding your head. And Tony, I'm going Renaissance Tony. Um, and you can do your 1.5 mil cartridge then another 2 weeks down the track. So if their tolerance is waning, instead of doing all three cartridges on the one day, then you can split the cartridges over weeks, and that will help with pain management as well. So there's a couple of different things you can do. All right, how are we going for time? How are we going for time? I'm in Adelaide, so the time's a bit. I don't know how long I've been talking for. Layering HIFU. It's crazy. Layering HIFU. So this is my favorite slide. It doesn't say much, but it's my favorite, and I'll tell you why. Like I said earlier, if I want to just do my 4.5 cartridge because I'm not creating all this bulk heating in the skin, I can. If I want to, make the treatment work a little bit more efficaciously, I can. And it's all about layering. So whenever you're going to layer HIFU, you're always going to do an exfoliating and a hydrating treatment first. So either microdermabrasion or epiblading or dermaplaning first, and then we put in lots of hyaluronic acid into the skin. A hydrated skin is going to work far more superiorly than a dehydrated skin is, and it's also going to allow for the ultrasound to be penetrated much more effectively. So we can start off with a very light exfoliation or an enzyme perhaps, and then these aren't in order, by the way. This was just as it came to mind. I was just typing it down. So after doing an exfoliating treatment, you then would go into your LED. You wouldn't do your LED right at the end because we don't want to stop the inflammatory response. We would do our LED right in the beginning, right, to increase the ATP, so the adenine triphosphate in the cells in order to, make the wound healing happen a lot more efficiently. So they're the LEDs, definitely a good one leading up to the treatment, on the treatment day, and over the next 3 months during maturation. You could do 4.5 and 3 and needling. So if you've got a client who, maybe can't afford all three cartridges, or you're time poor, there's nothing wrong with doing 4.5 and needling, or 3 and needling, or both 4.5, 3 and needling, right? Two different mechanisms of action, two very different depths of penetration. You can do your 4.5 and RF needling. So 4.5 for lifting, and your RF needling for remodeling and some skin tightening as well. I actually didn't have RF in there. You could do RF too, by the way, just normal RF. That's what I was supposed to do. That was supposed to say just RF. Sorry, ladies and gents. That was meant to say just radio frequency. You can do your HIFU and microcurrent, so muscle re-education. So yes, we're targeting the SMAS, but then we can target our masseter muscles as well. We can, re-educate the muscles around the mouth or around the eyes with microcurrent. So if you've got microcurrent and your clients can't stand, the HIFU on the forehead because it's too painful, you can switch it up and do HIFU here, and you can do your microcurrent for muscle re-education in other areas as well. You can mix it up with laser genesis. So if you've got a 1064 long pulse laser, or even if you've got a resurfacing like a CO2 laser, you can easily mix it up with your 4.5 and your laser treatments. If you've got an ablative CO2 laser and erbium, you could do your 4.53 and your erbium on top on the same day, right? As long as they know they're going to have a little bit of swelling. You could do your 4.5 and your plasma fibroblasting. So nothing wrong with, getting that muscle re-educated and giving them a quick lift because they're impatient, like me. And you get a bit of a contour happening with plasma immediately. So again, nothing wrong with doing two different depths. Your plasma is quite superficial. You can treat with your jet plasma or your cold plasma and your HIFU. Doesn't matter what depth. Am I breaking up? Am I okay? Saying my internet's unstable. All right, IPL. So, you might want to treat with the 580. So 580 nanometers is going to go roughly 3 mil deep. So you would do your 4.5 mil cartridge, and you would do your 580 rejuvenation. You could do your BBL with that as well, or your BBR or your SSR for those of you who have those devices. Hopefully you can still hear me. Sorry, Grace. And then you've got your enzyme peels. Of course, you're going to do an enzyme peel before doing your HIFU. An enzyme is going to help with hydration of the skin, and it also helps with, that HIFU penetrating as deeply as it should. And of course, if you've been following me in the last few weeks, biomimetic peels. So biomimetric peels are a little bit special because they don't create heat in the skin. So these peels, I'm talking about next Monday. We've got two presentations on these peels, but these peels are pretty special because you don't peel with them. There's no downtime. You can mix it up pretty much with any modality, and it just makes the cells work the way they should work. Very similar to LED, but you customize them. So if you're wanting to know more about these biomimetic lower medical peels, stay tuned next week. So if you're looking for a device, we've got a couple of different devices. This is one of them, which is pretty cool. So it's got your RF needling as part of your as part of the device. It has your multi-line, it has your single shot, and also has your body cartridge too, your body applicator rather too. So if you are curious to know a bit more, let me know. But in terms of results, so these are all after the one treatment, I'm pretty sure it was. So the one session. So you could see more of a contour on the lower half of the face happening. We can see a bit more of a definition and sort of that nasolabial softening. This isn't a great, because it's straight afterwards. If we were to wait 3 months, you'll get a lot more of a lift, of course. I'd like to get some photos of some of you ladies, please. What was this one? This was immediately afterwards. So you could see the skin laxity there has improved. Lines probably aren't as deep there. I wonder if Trish can show us hers. What have we got here? More HIFU shots there, just softening of those nasolabials. You can see a lift in the actual jowls there. So thanks to Amanda. Hope she's okay with me sharing these. They're on her Facebook page with our device. No, these ones she said that were okay, we could share, sorry. So more of a, this is all after one treatment, by the way. So yeah, the definition you can see in the lower half of the face, and more of a jawline here too, and that will improve over the next, say 3 months as well, 3 to 6 months. For fat reduction, this was one treatment 6 weeks later. So with multiple cartridges. So that's a significant reduction in circumference. 6 weeks post. So for fat reduction, it works really well. The only thing with fat reduction, you're using a lot of shots. So, it could be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 lines. So you need to charge accordingly. That's a pretty good change as well. All right, so what have I missed? What questions do you have for me? All right, let's have a look. So if you've got questions, just take yourself off mute. Hey Tony, go for it.
So I find that we get results, but it's just reaching out to clients that have had the treatment done and waiting that, like 3 months later. I always ring them, pretty much a week after having HIFU, and some are like, yeah, I'm, excited to wait and see what happens. But I think I need some help in following up like 3 months later, getting them back in to have those after photos.
Yep. So what are you doing between treatments to get them back in?
That's the problem.
All right.
That's the Yeah.
So I would be re-educating my clients on the importance of LED. And we often talk about prepping the skin. So pre-treatment and saying, hey, come in 2 weeks for LED, da, 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 da. But what about the 90 days or what about the 3 months after getting a treatment and giving the skin the best chance it has in order to produce that collagen to tighten, to lift, and to firm? So I think it's really important that we get them, like 24 hours after a treatment to do LED and to do a series of LEDs afterwards in order to monitor their progress and as a way of it's not really as a way of keeping them coming because it's really not. It's making sure that we get the maximum result and impact. And then what would you be doing in between? So whether it's the HIFU glow or whether it might be a couple of needling sessions, because even though HIFU is great at lifting and tightening, but what about retexturization? What about pigmentation? What about the finer lines? What about, a bit of pigmentation? Because all of these are going to be a little bit like they're going to be things that clients are concerned about. So
Yeah.
it's getting them to come back in and say, hey, what do we do a couple of needling sessions? Because with needling, you're going to get a different impact. You get thickening of the dermal density. We're going to get, not productivity, but better functionality of our skin cells. And it's going to help with getting even more collagen being produced more superficially. So I think
What
you might
about,
want to, pardon?
I was going to say, what about RF? Would you get them back in later or in between for RF?
Yeah, why not? So radio frequency isn't going to penetrate as deep, depending on your device, of course, but that creates that bulk heating and helps with angiogenesis. So more blood, better nutrition, oxygenation, toxin clearance to the skin. So radio frequency is definitely another great one to be doing in between treatments as well.
Okay.
Yep. If anyone has any advice that they want to or feedback they want to also be giving to the other users here, please feel free to do so. That'll be great. So yeah, just getting them to come back in, Tony, I think is going to be really important in between and not waiting the whole 3 months because there's other.
Yeah, like I try, but sometimes I feel like because they want to see the results so quickly, there is that impatience,
Yeah.
like, and then it's like, oh yeah, no, did it work? Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I've had clients coming back to have it done again, like 6 or a year later, because really it's good for them to have more than one
Oh,
after
yeah.
6, 12 months.
Yeah. So just a bit of maintenance. But are you also taking photos because people forget?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, people do forget how they look. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I think definitely get them to come back in and just say, look, we want you to get the maximum, results. So let's, keep the LED, and LED memberships are a thing. Actually, just memberships now are a thing. Uh,
yeah.
so,
A lot of people do come in saying, "Isn't it meant to be a one-off treatment?" Though, do you know what I mean? That's like an old, like when HIFU was first introduced. I think with marketing, everyone's, "Oh, you only need one," you know.
it was like plasma. They said, oh, you only need one, but look how much damage it caused by going one and aggressively.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
HIFU initially was like, yeah, you only need one, but like it was so painful. But now we've just pulled back on it. We're saying anywhere from 1 to 3 treatments. And it depends on the person's skin and how healthy
Yeah.
or unhealthy it actually is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it just depends from person to person. You've got diet, lifestyle, are they taking supplementation? I'm always sort of saying it's a holistic approach. They need to be taking their zinc, their essential fatty acids, their magnesium, their NAC, internally, skincare, externally, and other treatments. So a treatment plan is going to be really important.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
okay. So what else have we got? We've got a great
I'm
tip
not
of advice.
sure. Can you see me, Nancy? I don't know
Christy,
if
we
you can
can't
hear
see
me. You
you.
can.
We can hear
I
you.
wasn't sure if you could or not.
Can't see you, can
I
hear
just
you.
wanted to, yeah, just wanted to touch base. I think my biggest thing is I've been on a couple of sites where there's been HIFU damage, and I'm just scared to death of like melting that fat. So I think that's what's holding me back. I'm
Yep.
just so panicked about it now that the device is literally sitting there collecting dust. So I noticed that you were saying your 3 millimeter tends to be the one that is going to do that if it's going to. Where I want to err on the side of caution. Like, I suppose, where would you only use that 3 point? Like, I know you can go in with your 4 point and lift the platysma bands, and you can get rid of a little bit of fat under there. Would you use your 3 mil for that under the chin,
So,
or
so the skin thickness is different under the chin, obviously, to the
as
face.
to here? Yeah,
So, if we're doing 4.5 under the chin, that's
yeah,
where we're doing fat reduction. If you're wanting to do tightening, you will do 3 and 1.5 through there,
yeah,
and not so much the fat, right?
yeah.
The 3, if you're ever in doubt, don't use it. And I would
That's
say
yeah,
you, there's nothing wrong with doing a couple of needling, 2 or 3 needling sessions before
yeah,
doing HIFU for so many amazing
mm,
reasons.
yeah.
And I say you do needling every 7 to 10 days in the proliferation phase rather than waiting 4 to 6 weeks. So if you follow
Okay.
Des Fernandez or if you follow Dr.
I've got his book. Yeah, I am. I actually was going to sit down and read it this weekend again,
Good.
just to reiterate everything.
Yeah.
But and I've also got the exosomes and some stem cells as well. So I'm just trying to place where everything's,
Yeah.
how
So,
to map it out, I suppose, for my clients is the best thing.
and I think it's always going to be a journey. It's not a one-stop shop. So
Mm,
for someone who's got, and you can tell because they're sunken in, they don't have a
mm,
lot of volume, and I'd be like, you know what, you're not a
not the
three
right
mil,
candidate.
you're not the right candidate.
Yeah,
Let's do 3 needling sessions a week apart, or even 2 needling sessions, because needling alone is going to thicken up that dermis.
yeah,
And so if you're in doubt, that's your little bit of a, I call it an airbag, it's your
yeah,
safety sort of airbag. And you go, okay, let's do a couple of these, give it a few weeks,
yeah.
whether it's 4 weeks just for the dermis to thicken up. And then let's go in with my 4.5 mil cartridge, give it
Okay.
a few weeks, and we're still
Yeah,
waiting for the dermis to thicken up, and then go in with your 3 mil.
yeah.
But if you're ever
Yeah,
scared, just don't do the 3.
yeah, that's I think I'll just set that at the side for a little moment and use
Yep,
the other modalities. I was going to introduce the glow up facials because that seems really nice way to sort of introduce people into
yep,
it as well. So
yep.
I think I might start there and just
Perfect.
baby steps.
Yeah. So you could do like a microdermabrasion or some type of an enzyme. You do your LED and then you do your HIFU glow. And
Yeah,
most people are charging around the $600 price
yeah,
bracket for that.
yeah,
So that's a nice way to introduce HIFU, and it's there's no fear there then.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will get there. I'm just not brave enough yet.
No, that's okay. It takes time to build up the confidence, but
Yeah,
again, just don't do the 3 if you're scared, and that's
yeah.
okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Ever in doubt, let's not do it.
Yeah.
Would you do microcurrent before HIFU? Christina, good question. Doesn't actually really matter whether you do microcurrent first or then HIFU. Both of them are going to be re-educating the muscle. I think maybe for comfort, because after HIFU, they feel a bit tender. So for comfort wise, you could do your microcurrent first because you really are re-educating those muscles and you're touching their skin. And then you can do the HIFU right at the end, just so you're not irritating the client.
Yes, sure. My trainer said not to touch the face after HIFU, like not to move it around, not to have any facials for 2 weeks other than like LED.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a smash. So, if anything, it's more so for comfort.
Okay,
Their
sure.
skin will feel tender, like after, especially 4.5, they do feel tender for about 2 weeks. So, yeah, she's probably right.
Yeah.
Probably, she's right.
Yeah. I just checked my settings on my graph. My standard settings are at 2 millimeters for the spacing. So
Yeah,
he,
two is conservative, and if you're wanting just to sort of push those not push the boundaries but make it a little bit more intense, bring it a little bit closer to 1.5.
okay, like 1.8, because that's the next level.
Yeah, if you can go closer, I would. If you can't, then that's fine.
They said not to on a thin face.
On a thin face.
Yes, like one that is, not so full, not so much adipose tissue, um, maybe not having many dermal treatments, or yeah, like when the tissue is thin.
What depth was that in reference to?
Well, the lift we do 3 millimeters and 4.5. And then the glow is the 1.5, so the glow is separate.
Yeah. So the 3 mil, if they've got if they've got thin skin, I wouldn't be doing the 3 anyway because of the fear of getting fat or causing fat destruction. But your 4 mil, whether they're thin in the face or not, as long as their skin is prepped, as long as they're fit, they're healthy, their wound healing is quite it's good. There's nothing stopping you from bringing those dots slightly closer to just push those parameters a little bit.
Okay, because the family members that I've done it on, there's not been any change, so I'm a little bit disheartened with it. I don't know if it's my device. I did a friend and she barely felt it on her neck.
So you need to turn up those settings.
I'm sorry, I need to
Turn up the settings.
turn up the settings. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think
All
that's
right.
where people sometimes might be hesitant. It's like, oh, the parameters you're given says, between point whatever 5 and 1, and we don't push those boundaries. And I'm like, well, if
Yes.
the client can tolerate it and they're not feeling it, what are we doing?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so
So
just
I'll just do a few shots, see if they're feeling it, and then if they're not, I can turn
turn
it
it
up
up.
perhaps. Yeah, okay.
And turn it up by, say, 0.2 of a setting each time. So I'll start at 0.5, then I go 0.7, 0.9. And so I just keep turning it up until they're like, oh, okay, I can't tolerate that anymore. And I'll usually try to maneuver the skin to make them tolerate it. But if they definitely can't, and I can see their toes are curling, it's like, okay, well, let's just bring it down a couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
That's okay. Oh, Christine, okay, 2 millimeters space, I got that. Trisha, most definitely stress after the peaks. No lie, everyone says wow when they see them. Trish, why don't you just come off mute? Where are you? There you are. Oops, sorry. I just muted you. Unmute yourself again. Trish.
Yes, I'm unmute. Right. Is that good?
Okay, we can hear you. All right, go on, tell us.
Yeah. So, look, we've done a couple of stomachs, okay, and one man, he'd lost, if Becky would talk, I don't know how many kilos, maybe 60, and he had a body lift. Looked fantastic, but he wasn't happy with that little bit of flappy skin and just that little bit of, fat where the wound was.
Yeah.
And I said, why don't we, because he was going to have another surgery, I said, why don't we just give this a go? And we'll see if it makes a difference. If we can prevent you from having another scar, that will be awesome. So we did do that. Then he came back, like, because he kept on having hair removal with Becky. And then he came back, showed me his stomach, that picture that he took that week, because he's been taking a photo every week. I compared it with the one that I had at work, and we were both so shocked. That stomach looked so flat, so fantastic. The man does not need any more surgery. Becky, as my witness, I know she's up there somewhere with Mel, but because he's so self-conscious, he's gone so far. My God, if I could show you this photo, you'd just be so amazed. But because he's gone so far with it, he finds that when he bends down, like to lift his dumbbells, he's got that bit of sagging skin.
Yeah.
Like anyone here who's got that or had babies, you know what I'm talking about. You bend down, you've got this little droop. That's what he doesn't like. But when he stands tall, he's, just standing on it, his stomach looks as flat as a pancake.
Fantastic. Any tips on
Becky, is it a client? I've just seen,
settings?
Right.
What settings or what?
We went down to, I did a lot of the 13 mil and then the 8.5. And then I said to him, we can, and I did that in one setting. Then I said, we can do the 4.5 even, that little bit of extra tightening there on his stomach. But we haven't even done that. He looks fantastic. Honestly, the downside is, ladies, get yourself a machine. You're going to love it. But the downside is you do need that 3-month wait, and you tend to forget. So I'll give you another example. We did first of all, Becky did Gwen's jaw, and I did Grace's, okay? Now, we completely forgot about it. 3 months later, all of us girls are saying to Gwen, what have you done, Gwen? What have you done? There's something different about you. You look really great. What have you done to your face? Then the penny dropped. Oh, that's right. We did the HIFU one here. Okay. Then I was on holidays in Sydney, and I'm bragging to Grace, oh, look at me, my walking, 3 months. My exercise must be really making a difference, and because I'm being a little bit more careful with what I eat. She's taking a cool photo of me with the Sydney Harbour Bridge in the background. Felt very confident, never had felt that, had 4 children, and then the penny dropped there as well. Oh, it wasn't my 3 walking sessions and that less chocolate and ice cream. It was actually HIFU. So that's the kind of result you get, but you've got to wait for that 3 months. So to get the device, it's hard to show after pictures. Course, and everyone needs to have it. Everyone in your clinic. If you're going to try and sell it, you've got to have it. Otherwise, they're going to look at you and say, "Hey, old hag, how can you tell me that I'm going to, have lifted gels?" Yeah. So that's why the girls know Tricia has to have everything. Yeah. They're all right. They're all young, but me, I need to have everything.
Before I visited you,
yeah,
were you using the HIFU or not? I can't remember now.
Yes, I'd started using it, but I did not have the confidence to use it. There's nothing like Nancy's training. So you had a go at my stomach with Grace. Pushing boundaries, Nance. And then, gave me a model's belly.
I love that. But so you had and I think it comes down to your protocol and how you do the treatments, like whether you got results before or were you not getting the results before? Is that why you lost confidence?
Let me see. No, we had done a couple of sessions, a stomach, a jaw. I hadn't done any eyes. Mine are really great. I've done 2 lots now.
Yeah.
So it was only new at that point. Hadn't really done much, only a couple of sessions, but definitely didn't have the confidence to You just go for it. And even now, it's still a little bit, looking at the settings and everything, and yeah, it comes to you, and I think once you get it, you really get it, but it does take a while. So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to hear what you had to say again.
Yeah, a refresh is always good. And I just think, if your clients aren't feeling it, something's wrong. Either your dots are too far apart, or your energy is not high enough, or you're not doing enough lines. Like there's got to be something, because we know it works.
Yeah.
And, I don't think, even in terms of the quality of the device, if it's laying down the dots, it's working. Then it comes down to settings. That's what I think anyway. That's my opinion. Yeah. So yeah, that's good to hear, Trish. And I think Amanda said that, was it you, Amanda, who said that you've been getting really good results as well? Was that Amanda in the beginning of the conversation? Who was it? Julia, who's gone. Oh no, she's not. She's there. Julia, can you hear us?
No, it's yes. It's actually her husband. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, Jules has just stepped out. Yeah,
Oh,
Jules has stepped out, so I'm
you're
listening. I actually selected devices and work with the guys, day in, day out. So I have an intimate knowledge of the treatment. Yeah, look, we get fantastic results. But we've been going at it for years.
Yeah.
And we live and breathe it. And the guys are really open to trying new techniques and understanding the face and pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's been sort of the, our success. But I agree with the pain tolerance that you have. We do not market it as a pain-free treatment. The problem is the market is really, there's a lot of misleading clinics out there, and they sell it as a pain-free utopia a treatment, and that's where people leave dissatisfied, and they go in under the guise of comfortable treatment, one and done, and then they get it's very uncomfortable, and then they get charged for 3-4 treatments they need to have, and it leaves a sour taste. And there's a lot of negativity about the treatment in the market, which is really bad for the good players.
Yeah.
So we have to battle that every day, and it still continues. But yeah, you need the right pain. I call it the Goldilocks, pain discomfort level. Where if it's too low, you're not going to get nothing. And the girls, they really make sure their clients know about this, so their expectations are met, and you get decent results, because we don't want to take their money for nothing, basically. So yeah. Look, it's infinitely customizable, but yeah, you need to push it. You need to be brave, and understand the face, the skin, really well. And yeah, it's a very powerful tool, and you just keep evolving with it. Yeah.
So I'm not in clinic every day, which is why I decided to start a clinic, right? I don't know what I was thinking, just crazy. But anyway, and so I was like, okay, you Julie's husband, I don't know your name, but you guys are
Louis.
Louis. So Louis, you're in the clinic day in, day out, and you're seeing clients all the time, obviously. Is there anything that you can add further to what I've briefly said, this evening, in terms of trying to push the boundaries and results?
Yeah, look, the team has got to be on board, and they've got to believe in the treatment, and be capable enough and brave enough to do it in a way that it's not risky, and you're going to have these negative effects with fat loss and stuff like that. So look, yeah, what you've said is really good, especially given the realistic approach that if you push it with, with the energy, you're going to get much better results. And that's the truth. You look at it overseas and they use gases and relaxants to calm, their clients down. We don't do that here,
Yeah.
but couple do, the doctors and, the derms. But so where did they magically not have a pain-free solution? It doesn't exist. And so the realism is really important, and expectation setting, the right clients, and you're not going to magically erase everything, straight away. The misinformation is really important to get clients, the satisfactory outcomes, and what they're expecting.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing is people are either scared of they've heard that you can get fat reduction or fat loss with it. And it can do. I don't know if you've ever experienced it yourself. I mean, I certainly haven't, but I'm a bit more conservative with my 3 ml cartridge anyway. And also the pain. People are like, oh no, HIFU, you're not touching me with that. I mean, how many times have I heard that? And it's like, let's just, go through this together. Let's just see what your tolerance is like. So yeah, I think setting the expectation is going to be really important during consultation and prepping. I don't know how much you guys have the journey, like you prep the skin internally and externally, and if that makes a big difference as well, Louis.
Yes, we talk about that with our clients all the time. Does everyone buy off on it? No. But yeah, like we talk about AFAs, the A, B's and C's, active skincare to promote collagen. Yeah, look, not every client buys off on that. But you tell them these are the right conditions to get the best results, and they have to decide. But yeah, that's an important factor. Absolutely.
And I think, like, if I was telling a client today who wanted RF needling, she was actually a model, sorry, during training. And I'm like, okay, well, how old are you? 62. And I said, well, did you heal the same way today as you were when you were 20 years old? She said, no. And I said, okay, and what am I doing now? I'm creating a wound, aren't I? So I said to her, you really need to be looking at your supplementation, skincare, preparing LED for the next 3 months, and doing other treatments that are going to help with that collagen to really remodel and mature. So I think it's really important that it's a holistic approach. And I think, like Louis said, not everyone's going to take you up on your offer on the supplementation and the skincare, but it's important in the results. If they're going to spend this type of money, whether it's 600 or 1500 or whatever it is that they're paying, that it's it's a package, it's a journey. So thank you for your input. I mean, this is great to have a guy here who can actually, and we haven't paid you, so that's good.
Oh no, look, my team is what does all the work. I just work with them. We work as a team, and one of my guys is on at the moment, Chelsea, and they're fantastic. I mean, but yeah, you have to immerse yourself in these things, and I'm not saying we're the greatest of all time, but we started from almost nothing and we just built it up, and so.
Amazing.
But yeah, we try to be ethical as well with our clients. We don't mislead them into saying it's pain-free. You're going to get a flat moon face. It just sends the wrong message, and too many clinics are doing that at the moment. It's not good. Yeah.
Well, Chelsea's saying, I work under Lou, as you said, not everyone bites around the prep. However, you can tell from the existing clients, they have a good barrier. They're prepping, they're more comfortable throughout the treatment and handle this discomfort better, which leads to better results versus those who aren't prepped. Good one. Any other questions? Because I really want to quickly talk about this biomimetic peel, because this is one amazing way to prep the skin. So thank you to those who have contributed. HIFU Glow is the 1.5 all over without the 3 and the deeper cartridges. So it is just the 1.5 all over the face. What else? Chelsea, Trisha's saying, agree, Louis, too much better than too little. We'd hate to not see results when it's a high price treatment for sure. I like the porridge. No one likes it hot. No one likes it cold, and definitely not HIFU. All right. And definitely go for it, Chelsea. What question do you have?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I have a little bit of, I guess I'm not as confident in working with body cultures, especially on the stomach.
Yeah.
We get a lot of women come in that are like post giving birth and things like that. And I feel like I always lean more towards the more superficial cartridges versus the deeper ones to work with the tightening aspect.
Right.
But I'm also wondering, like, am I kind of letting them miss out on a section of the treatment with not treating them deeper?
Not necessarily, because if they're there for tightening, then you'll tighten with your 4.5 and, potentially the 6. I mean, that might be a bit too deep even, but your 4.5 on the body is for tightening. Whereas if you're going to go for your deeper cartridges, such as your 8 or your 13 or your 16, that is for fat reduction. So you're not, if they're there for tightening, you're doing the right thing. But if they're there for fat reduction and tightening, then yes, they're going to be missing out.
With the 4.5, would you recommend to work with that as well as a 3, or would you just do the 4.5 on its own?
It depends with the type of laxity. So if it's a bit of loose skin rather than really thin, frail, not frail, but quite what's the word I'm looking for? It really has lost its elasticity. So if it's just sort of, you could see that, the skin needs just a bit of a tighten rather than a full lift, then the 4.5 is going to suffice. But if I've got someone who I can see they've lost, 30, 40 kilos, they really need that tightening, the skin has been quite stretched, then I might do 2 passes, one at my 4 and one at 3.5, or you'll do your 4, other way around, sorry, 4.5 and 3. So I'll do my 4.5 and then I might go in with, say, RF needling, or I might go in with, say, my plasma fibroblasting if I can see it's really crepey and real, it really has lost that elasticity, if that makes sense.
We get a lot of women with abdominal separation as well. So, I mean, it'll only take us so far. So, yeah, that's really good to know. Thank you. It's very helpful.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Good. All right. For those of you who've stayed on for I don't know if there's anyone else who's got any questions on HIFU. And if not, Christy was saying she's looking forward to next Monday for the peel. So we had a session last week and we've just been inundated with the actual phone calls and emails. So if you've emailed a phone call or called, the girls are getting back to you. I've been training all week this week, so we're one man down, which is myself. But next Monday at 10 Melbourne time, 10 in the morning, 10 and 6 p.m. In the evening, we've got 2 sessions happening, because if you've heard of the BioRe peel, this is similar to that, but it's customizable. Same, but different. So with these biomimetric, what physio biomimetric means, it's mimicking the body. And one way of, I suppose, prepping the skin instead of the typical A, B, C, and doing this in such a haste way within a couple of weeks instead of, 4 to 6 weeks of prepping, is doing these biomimetric peels where they don't actually peel. If their barrier is compromised, you do one of these. If their cellular functionality, metabolism has slowed down or is sluggish, then we will do one of these. And then I can do my HIFU, or I can do my RF needling, or I can do my plasma fibroblasting. So with these, they're a bit of a game changer. There is no peeling, there is no downtime. You can do it on psoriasis, you can do it on dermatitis, on eczema, and on compromised skin barrier, that's being compromised. And the prep time is only 5 days instead of 1 to 2 weeks. So that will be we'll be going live with that next week. Not live, but I'll do the presentation and ROI and so forth next week. It's amazing ROI. So, we're looking at about what, $350, whereas Cosmoline is $1,500. So the price point's quite effective. And like I said, it's customizable. So don't miss that next week. Be in it to win it. I'm super excited about it. I haven't been this excited for a long time, just because of the results. I just saw my daughter's face transform. If you've seen all the acne photos I've posted, that's of my daughter's skin when she was wearing the N95, when she was working at the hospital, and she had so much scarring. And I was like, you have to do something about this because you're my daughter. I need to fix your skin. And she's like, I don't want you to needle me. And I was like, okay, well, we need to do something. And these came along and it was just a game changer. So thank you for joining me. If you have any other questions or want to stay on to ask me anything else, I can stay on for a few more minutes. Apart from that, I'm going to go get dinner. It's been a long day here in Adelaide. You're welcome. Thank you for your input, and thanks for joining me. I'll see you next month. Otherwise, all right, have a good week, everyone.